So this is the second video that I'm doing today, and this one is how to fold and assemble the card slot pockets. So I'll show you that a little bit closer. I get it. Looks a little drunk there. No, you're not seeing double. Well, maybe you are, but anyway, that again, not for me to judge. But anyway, this is what we're going to do. That's for the one purse, and this one is for the brown purse that I'm doing, again with the card slots, and how I assemble those. Once again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Your encouragement and response has just been absolutely fantastic. I just can't believe that I get to do this, and that you guys are actually all watching me. So I'm really hoping that this is not, even once this is done, that this isn't going to be the end of it. So I think there's a lot of possibilities with the NCW XXL, and I think there's lots of modifications and lots more fun that we can have. So anyway, that's where we're at. The next segment that I'll do will be with the actually putting the card slots in and sewing the body together. So thanks again. This is what the card slot pocket is going to end up looking like. The way that I gave the measurements and the materials list actually only has the card slots on the one side. You will end up with 18. You'll have 6 going down and 3 of them across. The way that I did it, you'll actually have 4 sewing lines, because if you don't, you're going to end up with extra here, and your cards, I think you'll end up with too much room in the cards. So I'm going to show you on the other one, on the umbrella one, I'll call it, I guess, how I made this. But this is what you'll end up with. So no different other than from the original, other than you don't have card slots on this side. So if you wanted the card slots, like I did actually give instructions to some other people, you're just going to do 2 of the 29-inch pieces. I don't know. Lost for words. That's not normally like me. Anyway, yeah, you'll do 2 29-inch pieces and do all of the folding. And then instead of just this side, because this side is just the short piece, just to finish it up, you'll end up with the card slots on the other side. That's a lot of cards. Either you do an awful lot of shopping, or you're very deep in debt if you have that many cards. But anyway, I'm not here to judge. So anyway, let's get started on the card slots. Many of you have probably seen this method for folding the card slots. Lots of you probably use it. It works really, really well. I started using it for my NCWs, and it was kind of life-changing. Melanie Ias developed this, as far as I know. That's the tutorial that I watched, and so I want to give her the credit for this idea. It certainly was not my idea. So this one works well, and you can use this. I did see another tutorial, and I believe it was when I was doing some research on making a men's wallet, that I just happened to stumble across a different tutorial. And so that's the one I'm going to show you. You probably know this one, and I think it's in the files on the NCW Addicts group. So I'm going to show you an alternate method. So this is my big 29-inch long piece. This method is really simple. There's 3, this is just made out of cardstock. Me and my templates again. All I did was take a piece of cardstock, go 2 1/2 for the first one. The next piece is 2 1/4, and the next one is 1 3/4. The same measurements as are used. This is 2 1/2, 1 3/4, 2 1/4. So the first piece we're using is the 2.5 inch strip. So we're going to place that on, and we're going to just flip the fabric over. First one is a little bit difficult, not really, but I want that first one to be nice and straight. So flip that over. You can pull that card out. This one doesn't make a huge difference because it's paper. It's not really going to do too much. If you're using plastic ones, then you definitely want to remove them. And give that a press. Now that one can be taken out because we don't need that one anymore. The next one that we're going to use is the 1 3/4. And I'm going to fold it back. Now I can eyeball this and make sure that I'm fairly even across there. As we go down, we'll be able to adjust the fabric. We can see that we have an edge here. So here again, take out my 1 3/4 and give it a press. And I actually can see that I was a little off there. That's a little hot. So yeah, so I can see, oh, you can't. There we go. When I originally did it, I was off a little bit. A little bit isn't going to make any difference here, but if we keep going off a little bit, we're going to end up really crooked. So it's easy enough just to fix that right now. A little press, a little steam. Okay, the next one is 2 1/4. Flip that up. Now we can actually see here. We can move that over to make sure that our piece is nice and straight in there. So we're using the template as a guide. Pull that out. Give it a good press. And we're just going to keep alternating. I'm kind of working at a funny angle here so that I stay out of the camera shot as much as I can. And line it up. And I'm just going to keep going like that till I get to the end. Now I have my 6 slots done. So I'm just going to give it one more real good press. Some steam. Do the front. Flip it over. So now it's ready for me to do my top stitching on the edges. So I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch. I'll move you over here a little bit, see exactly where I'm at. I'm just lining up all my top stitching with that little red dot, just so I can use that as a reference for all of them. Helps just keep those seams or those stitching lines just a little nicer and straighter, if you can do that. Hopefully I don't bounce you around too much here. And all I'm doing is I'm just flipping the other one back and starting. And I'm just going to keep doing that for all of them. Now I have all of my card slots. I have all of the top stitching done on them. I have it nice and pressed. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to turn it to the side here, but I'm going to check it for square. If you've ever had problems with your NCWs when you sew it all together, that your flap seems crooked, chances are it could have started with your pockets. That's what I have found for myself, that my card slots, or not my pockets, that when I sewed the card slots in, I was using them and they weren't quite square, so it kind of threw everything off, and so then your flap is going to be over to one side as well. So I'm just going to make sure, double check, within reason everything is square. I've got it lined up here and I've got it lined up across the bottom. We're nice and square. Looks good. This piece, I do trim it off. I allowed a little bit extra so that there is some to trim off, just in case in case you don't do every single measurement and get everything absolutely accurate, then at least you have a little bit of wiggle room, and you can just trim this off. So we're going to go 6.5 inches is what we're going to, if I can find my rotary cutter, there it is. That's what we're going to trim this off to. So this is going to be 1/2 of the two pockets. Again, if you want to do card slots on both sides, go ahead. You'll just have to do this twice and sew them together, just like you would with the normal NCW. So I have this one here. This is all the pockets. And I have, this is the other side. Now normally here is, if you had the second piece where you wanted all of the card slots, then this would get sewn onto it. So I just make sure that I'm directional, because this will, when it's flipped over, will be up like this. And I'm going to do a 3/8 inch seam across this edge. Now I have my two pieces sewn together, and I'm going to show you how I come up with my measurements, or my stitching lines for the top. First of all, I measure, and this is 12 inches. So I know my center is 6. The credit card slots are 3.5 inches wide. That's what I think probably for the NCW. Well, I'm not sure if it's really exact or not, but for our purposes, I used a credit card, and it's 3.5 inches is what they fit into nicely. So on either side, now I can start off this way. I know that half of 3.5 is 1 3/4. So I'm going to mark 1 3/4 on this side, and I'm going to go 1 3/4 on this side. So I'm going to do that, the top and bottom both. So I've got 6, 1 3/4 that way, 1 3/4 that way. Now I can actually just join my line. Again, I like the purple markers because we can sew on them and then they disappear. Now I'm just going to go ahead. You can do it with all of that way, or now I'm just going to go 3.5 with my big ruler. So I'm putting the purple mark on 3.5, and I'm just going to mark that. Again, on the other side, line up the other mark with 3.5 and mark that one. So these are the 4 lines that I'm going to sew on. I'm going to double check, make sure I've got this one 3.5, and that looks good. The reason why I sewed this 3rd and 4th line is if these are left open, our seam allowance actually is going to come out to here. We're going to end up with a really huge pocket, and cards aren't going to just stay in there nicely. It's just not going to be tight enough for it. So that's why I just put those extra lines in there. It doesn't hurt anything, and it'll be better in the long run for the cards. So again, just sewing down my stitching lines. Just let it work itself through here. A little heavier. And I'm just going to do the other 3 as well. Now, if everything has gone according to plan, which it should, take that back piece, and it just fits over top of those 2, and do seams on top and bottom. One of the things to always consider with directional is when you flip it over, is what you see going to be what you want to see, or is it going to be upside down? So I know that if I do it this way, my little frogs will be the way that I want them to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my seams and turn it inside out. I have my card slots and the plain side sitting on my ironing board right now. So I'm just holding my phone. I'm going to show you a little trick. Like, instead of trying, like, I want to get this seam, I want to get it nice and flat. So instead of trying to fold this and get it all wiggled and so that it's really close to the stitching and get a nice crease there, I'm going to show you. I just have to move my phone, but I'll show you kind of a little trick that I've learned on how to make that a little easier. Just set you there. Here we go. Hopefully it can stay in. So instead of trying to fold this and press it, I'm going to make sure that my crease is to one side, and I'm going to use my iron, and I'm just going to push it over. So that it's pushed over one way and it's nice and flat. Now, while it's still nice and warm, if I flip that over, it folds really nice, really flat already. And then all I have to do is give it another good press. And do the same thing on the other side. Just gonna kind of roll it a little bit. Put it to one side. Press that nice. Oh, took a little slide down there. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now I can press it with my fingers. There you go again. Moving my ironing board too much. Okay, so you see already how flat that is. Nice and crisp. Now I'm going to top stitch both those sides. Well, apparently that's the end of that segment, and I guess I just didn't feel like continuing on with it and showing you the top stitching. Anyway, next segment will be out in another couple days.